Hello my angels, welcome back to Vlogmas and welcome back to the kitchen. Now this is going to be a relatively short vlog, but it is going to be an epic one. It's a recipe that I haven't shared with you before. It's half a family recipe and I've slightly adapted it in the last couple of months because I went for a Sunday lunch and they added an extra cheese that I didn't know about. And it was game-changing. So it is the most miserable evening. You can probably hear the rain coming down. It's super wintry, it's freezing cold, and Mark and I are getting all cozy, and we are going to be having the world's greatest cauliflower cheese. You heard it here. I'm raising my hand. It is exceptional. So let's make it. First things first, as always, let's talk through the ingredients. So I have actually got a relatively small cauliflower head, but considering it's just the two of us eating this evening, it is just perfect. So you're going to need a cauliflower head. You are going to need milk. You're going to need plain flour because essentially we're going to make a white sauce or a bechamel. You are going to need red Leicester, Gruyere, cheddar, and a sprinkle of Parmesan for the top, just to make it super crunchy and cheesy. And finally, you are going to need some butter. Oh, you all right? Mummy's little elf? Also like to add a dash of either Dijon or whole grain mustard. You can also use English mustard depending upon how strong. I just think it's a really, really great taste and it really adds depth to the cheese sauce. So let's head over to the hob. I'm going to actually pop my whole cauliflower head into boiling water and essentially blanch it. We are going to parboil the cauliflower, but really be careful not to overcook it. We still want it to have that crunch, and then we are going to pop it into the agar once we pour the best cheese sauce over the top. Let's do this. So I've just popped some boiling water into a big pot. I'm just popping my cauliflower in, turning the hob on, and I'm just going to let that simmer away and parboil. Now whilst that is parboiling, let's make this cheese sauce. Now when it comes to making a cheese sauce, essentially you make a white sauce first, so a bechamel, and it's really important that you cook the flour and the butter. You create almost like a ball, and once that flour is cooked off, you then add a dash of milk at a time, creating the most delicious thick white sauce. And then we start to melt the cheese in. I cannot even begin to tell you how delicious this is. We're then going to add a tiny touch of Leon Parents, a large tablespoon of whole grain mustard, salt and pepper. We need to season this bad boy up, and trust me, it will be sublime. Sublime, I'm saying it here. Right, I'm gonna go and get my ingredients, bring them over here, and we are going to cook this together. First of all, I also want to apologise for this hideous lighting. We're not going to be here for long, but as I said, I've got my butter. I will pop all of the exact measurements below so that you've got the recipe, because you're going to want this one. So the butter goes in, and I'm just going to warm that butter up and make sure that it is melted in the bottom of this saucepan. I'm going to get myself a wooden spoon and just help that butter melt at the bottom of the pan. This is one of Mark's favourite recipes, and we are going to be very naughty and have it for dinner. It's also one of the side dishes that I make on Christmas Day. We do fennel gratin, we do dauphinoise potatoes, and we do the world's best cauliflower cheese. It truly is phenomenal. Oh my goodness, I'm really starting to feel Christmassy. It's all coming together, the decorations, the baking, the cooking, all the food, the smells, the scented candles, absolutely everything is just so special. I truly love this time of year. Now my butter has completely melted. It's really important to make sure that your butter doesn't burn to the bottom of your pan. And what we're going to do is we are just going to sprinkle the flour in, and we're just going to let it absorb into the butter, just making sure there are no lumps and bumps along the way. And when that flour has completely disintegrated into the butter, you add a touch more, and it will get thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker until it creates almost like a ball. We're going to create almost until it's dry, and then we're going to cook it off and then start adding our milk. Sprinkle away. I tell you who taught me this recipe is Bobby Dazzler. Now if you don't follow Robert Walton, then I would highly recommend to. He is the most incredible chef. He is the most well-dressed chef I've ever come across, and he actually taught me how to make bechamel and also how to make Yorkshire puddings. I will never make them another way now. They are light, they are fluffy, and they are absolutely enormous. I could even put my entire roast in my Yorkshire pudding. They are that big. He is amazing. So I would highly recommend actually to jump over to Instagram and go and give Robert Walton, aka Bobby Dazzler, a follow. Oh, here we go. This is really beginning to thicken up. I will show you in just a moment. It's one of those things that you can't leave. You need to sprinkle in the flour, mix, 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 until it becomes perfectly smooth, and then add a touch more. There we go. And it really depends upon how much butter you put in, depends upon how much sauce you're going to have. And it's sadly not one of those things that you can add flour later on, just because it will then taste sort of powdery and essentially like flour, and that is not what we're going for. Here we go. Keep adding in the flour. It's getting thicker and thicker and thicker, and it will almost turn into a ball. And when it begins to turn into a ball, that's when we start adding the milk. It's also really, really important not to season. Yes, you heard that correctly. Not to season your bechamel or your white sauce or even your cheese sauce until the very end and until you're happy with the cheese consistency. Otherwise, you might actually burn the bottom of the cheese sauce and you won't know it, because if you will have put black pepper in there, it will look the same. It will look sort of like floating burnt bits, and you don't want that. So it's best not to add it until the end, and then you know 100% sure that those little black bits are in fact black pepper. Right, here we go. We're almost at the stage where we start adding the milk, and I would actually say that our cauliflower is ready to come out and just sit to rest. I'm going to take that off the heat for a moment, and I'm going to take my cauliflower over to the sink. Ooh. Woo! Flying collie. A flying collie. And I'm just going to let him rest in the pot for a moment and continue with our cheese sauce. Okay, so that is cooking away nicely, and now I'm actually going to turn it up slightly, and we are going to start to add the milk. We're then going to actually have to have a bit of a grate-a-thon over there, because we've got so much cheese we need to grate it. I am sometimes a little bit lazy, and if I'm in Waitrose I will in fact actually already buy the grated version. It just saves time. So as you can see, oh, we need to turn that down. We don't want anything burning off. And we've just added the first dash of milk and it has been completely absorbed already. Again, second dash of milk has been absorbed. Keep mixing. This is going to get those bingo wings moving. It's going to work off all those calories before we eat them all again. Oh gosh, there is really nothing better than the food at Christmas time. I know Thanksgiving is amazing and I truly love Thanksgiving thanks to my upbringing in the States, but I just still don't think it compares to Christmas. Studded hams, turkeys, beef, you've got cold turkey sandwiches on Boxing Day, all the stuffing. Gosh, it is just delicious. That Christmas pudding that you liked with the whiskey, it is amazing. It's also so theatrical and I just love the concept of just making it such a family event and decorating the house and just having really, really special times and making memories. I think that's what it's all about. And this is definitely one of those recipes that we've had on so many different occasions and made some serious memories. Right, here we go. This is really beginning to take place. So I'm just going to show you. Don't be alarmed. This is looking extremely thick. We need to add more milk, but this is what it should look like relatively at the beginning. And then once we keep adding milk, it will get a little bit smoother, a little bit looser, and will start to really turn into really creamy, thick white sauce. In goes a dash more milk. Me talking all about my family traditions. I'd love to hear some of your family traditions, so please leave in the comments below what you like to do on Christmas Day or Boxing Day or even Christmas Eve. Always on Christmas Eve we make a fish pie and it's a little bit extra, I know, and we're very, very privileged. We actually have salmon bellinis and caviar. So we have fish pie, salmon bellinis and caviar on Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas Day, it's the full works. I mean, anything you can possibly imagine, we are cooking it. And it's on for meal style. So my brother will be doing something, my mother will be doing something else. My dad is obsessed with whiskey sauce. So he likes to do the whiskey sauce. I'm baking, cooking, this, that, and the next thing. And then always on Boxing Day, we have cold cuts. So we'll have turkey and cranberry sandwiches. We will just basically eat everything that we didn't eat the day before. And actually that's something with this cauliflower cheese. Day 2, it's always better. You put it back in the agar and those top little cheesy bits become so crunchy and oh, so special. Normally it's Marcus actually stealing the cauli cheese out of the back fridge, putting it in the oven and then sneaking off and eating it himself. Very naughty. Yes, you can hear me. He's looking at me being like, don't tell everybody that. Anyway, right, this is really beginning to thicken up. And again, if you actually add a touch too much milk, don't worry about it because you can actually add a touch more cheese and it will thicken it up. But please, please don't add any more flour. Otherwise, you really will taste it. So this is starting to take shape. Just going to mix, mix, mix. It's on a super low heat. And there we go. So I'm going to get this to a consistency that I'm happy with. And then we will head back over to the chopping station to have a serious grating marathon. We'll come back, we'll sprinkle it into this pot together, let it melt, and then we're going to pour the cheese sauce over the top of our cauliflower and pop it into the oven together. So I'll see you in a hot moment. Is our heart-stopping amount of cheese, and we're now going to add this to our white sauce in order to make it the cheese sauce. Now I've popped our cheese sauce back on the heat, and I'm just allowing that cheese to melt into our white sauce really slowly. So make sure that you have it on a low heat and continue to stir until all the cheese is fully melted and you've got this gorgeous thick cheese sauce consistency. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time mixing this, and I will come back and we will pour it over our cauliflower together. Okay, so our cheese sauce is pretty much finished, and as you can see, the consistency is thick. We do probably have a heart-stopping amount of cheese in here, but that is what makes it so special. So the last few ingredients are whole grain mustard. I do sometimes like to add Dijon mustard, but however this evening we are going for whole grain, and then we are going to season it with salt and pepper. I don't actually add any chili to the cauliflower cheese because it doesn't need it at all. So bear with me 2 moments. So you need to get yourself a teaspoon, and we're going to pop 2 large teaspoons of whole grain mustard. I'm going to be generous with the black pepper, and then you need a few sprinkles of flaked sea salt. Give it a good old mix. Make sure that whole grain mustard is completely mixed in, and she is ready to be poured over the top of our cauliflower cheese. So I actually went ahead slightly and just prepped it. I popped it into a Pyrex glass dish. You can pop it into any oven-proof dish that you have. Just please make sure that it is oven-proof. And as you can see, our cauliflower is like this, and we parboiled it to perfection. So when you cook it, or essentially bake it, you want to also still have that slight crunch to the cauliflower. Otherwise it all goes mushy and it's not very pleasant to eat. So the bit you have all been waiting for, and the bit you enjoy watching, is the pour. There we go. And there goes the cheese sauce. I have probably actually made a touch too much, but there's nothing worse than not having enough. And in it goes. That is going to be scrum-didiotious. Now, as you saw when I poured the cheese into the saucepan, I didn't put all of it in, and that is because we want to add a touch on the top. And you do want to get a little bit of a mixture between the cheddar, the Leicester, and the Gruyere. So just make sure that you evenly sprinkle it onto the top. I would then add on a touch more black pepper to the top, and a slight little sprinkle of sea salt. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the world's best cauliflower cheese ready for the oven. Now, if you don't have an Aga, then I would suggest putting it on 200-degree heat. All of these ingredients are in fact already cooked, so you actually are just wanting to get it golden on the top and make sure that that cheese is fully melted. I'm actually going to pop it into the top part of the Aga, and this is around about 200, 220, so it is really rather roasty. So that is in the oven. It's going to cook for around about 15 to 20 minutes, and then it will be cooked to perfection and will be utterly scrumptious. So I will see you then, and I will show you what it looks like. Oh my goodness me, I almost dished up without showing you the end result. I hope you can hear that sizzling over Odie crying, but this is my world famous cauliflower cheese. It has more cheese in it than you can shake a stick at, but I promise you it is absolutely scrumptious. So this evening we are having it with a very fresh green salad, mostly because I think it has so much cheese in it. We needed to have something healthy on the side. But as I said, this is one of my favorite Christmas side dishes to make, and it is truly scrumptious. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this vlog, and I will see you guys tomorrow.